Shame.
I talk about all the time on my channel about like kind of have the means now with a lot of creatives, which is why it's no better time than now, have been more like kind of decentralized in the sense that it's more affordable, and we have a direct line of sight with our audience. So whereas you did have to go through this channel, that channel, the proper channels in order to get a name for yourself, those days have kind of come and gone. Now we're able to get a direct line of sight by doing stuff like this, whether it be recording or streaming or doing any of that.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the most important things about the fact that the traditional gatekeepers have melted away. A person can continually put themselves out there, and if the average person likes what that individual has to say, then eventually they're going to grow. Now, this is also why cancel culture is so important to the left and to the traditional gatekeepers. And this is why you see a lot of this coming from traditional media. I remember when there was a massive assault on PewDiePie a few years ago, and the massive assault we see continue on people like him and Joe Rogan. The vast majority of the power behind it comes from traditional media trying to smear that person. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's transparently obvious. Why? Because this is a person who was able to rise to fame without those gatekeepers having sanctioned their opinions first. Joe Rogan is somewhat complicated because he was famous in a more traditional way before he started the Joe Rogan experience, but he did not have nearly the level of notoriety given to him by the establishment that he just went and seized for himself by having conversations that he didn't ask for their permission to have.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, and he got more popular doing it that way, right? Like doing it a more unconventional way. And I think that a lot of people, particularly the authoritarian left, man, those guys it's starting to seep in, which is why they ramp up those attacks. That this is becoming an animal that they just simply can't control. So I know I say this, for example, about the Rippaverse, and obviously me being we came out swinging with the way that we had come with ISOM #1 and our sales and all that. And I tell people this all the time. I got more attacks, no more attacks doing this, like my own independent stuff, in independent comics, than I had when I was making edgy takes back, in those eras, 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. Now I'm more hated than I ever had been. And this is probably the most apolitical thing that I've done in making a comic book.
Isn't that interesting?
But
interesting?
But because they realize, oh, wait a minute, this guy has entered into what grounds that they think they own. And I made a big statement, and they absolutely hate that because they can't control, like, whereas traditionally it'd be like, we don't like this person, therefore we're going to go to their employer, we're going to go to their advertisers, or we're going to try to pull the rug from under them. That doesn't exist here with something like the Rippaverse, and they can't control it. So they've ramped it up. They've been as disgusting and as nasty as they possibly could be, and that's because they can't control it. And they knew that that's where it started for them, and that's where it ultimately ended with them. But particularly them, definitely the Western leftists, they have almost nothing if they don't have like control of culture, because it's not like they got the best and brightest ideas.
Or the best and brightest advocates, right?
That's true. That's very true.
Or advocates who you look at and go, wow, that person has their life together. Why don't I adopt their philosophy so I can get my life together?
Exactly.
I've said this before, right? And this might come off as really harsh, but I do think this is true. So as a Catholic, I've known people who were of different religious faiths than me, right? Protestant, Jewish, Muslim, but of whom I could genuinely say, this is someone whose life is so together that I could understand someone outside of their religion wanting to convert to it, seeing how that person lives their life. Right. I've never felt that way about a leftist, unfortunately. There are leftists who I've met who I've been impressed by on some level, of whom I could say, oh, wow, like you're sharp, or you're really good at articulating these ideas. But unfortunately, I don't think I've ever met one who said, wow, your life is really together. And I can imagine why someone would look up to you and want your worldview because of the things it's done for you in your personal life. Never, ever, ever have I felt that way.
That's almost non-existent. I mean, they are often dysfunctional people, and they often try to like project that dysfunction as if it's, or attempting to normalize it, which I think is while leftism in general is something that is so attractive because it almost incentivizes being not thorough, not well put, not all together upstairs and whatnot. Because let's say if you have a trajectory, let's say in your own individual life, you much rather try to project that, how bad it might be, onto everybody else to try to justify and legitimize and excuse your bad behavior, as
Yeah.
opposed to, let's say, becoming something greater. So, this is
Amen.
why often, even in the economic sense, they adopt the policies that they often adopt, because it incentivizes failure, but more importantly, it excuses their own. So, this is why they're always quick to try to take from other people. But yeah, going to that point, like I said, it's just they have nothing. If they have control of the mediums that people look to in level of influence, they know they have everything. They're like, I don't need to convince this person to have the brightest idea. I can funnel this bad idea through this movie, or this type of music, or this whatever it is, and I can put it there, and I can have those actors, actresses, directors, producers, whoever that people may look to some sort of influence. I can have that bad, terrible messaging funneled through them, and it legitimizes it. So us just merely existing delegitimizes them, which is why they often hate us so much.